Hello, audience. Welcome to Soul Symphony, my channel, and thank you for tuning in. And the information, I hope that the information you find here helps you if you are on your healing journey. If you are not, please just pass it along to whoever might need it. So today, I'll go ahead and talk about need of control and perfectionism. So, need of control, most people actually who have that need to control is not a bad thing. It's just when it's excessive and when it's like extended to different parts of your life that actually do not need to be controlled, or extended to other people. When we try to control other people, we try to control what other people say, do, react to us, depending on what the circumstance is. That's when actually there's a problem. So the need to control, the need to excessive control and perfectionism, most of the time are a product of childhood trauma. And most likely childhood trauma, people who grew up with parents who are very strict, parents who are so strict and they're not allowed really to do much in the house. Everything is so controlled, criticism, and how no matter how well you do something, there's always a way that that parent finds that you did not do it right. And also safety. When there is a lack of safety in a household, and children find it to be, if they find it hard to actually have a stable mindset when it comes to routine, and everything is so chaotic, disorganized. So therefore, when that person grows up, they're more likely to see it as, well, if I have more control over things, then I'm more likely getting the outcome I want for my life. Or society, whatever society or community that person might live in, the pressure of that specific society or community can also create a sense of want to control things in an excessive way, and to want to be perfect at any and everything we do, so that we are validated for what we're doing, so what we're so good at. And perfectionism is very detrimental to most relationships, romantic ones, platonic ones, parenting, especially if you have children, trying to control any and everything that they do, being like basically a helicopter parent is not, it's not helpful, because the child does not really learn to have their own independence, to learn to be self-sufficient. So, in that sense, it's very important to understand that healing ourselves from our own trauma, our own childhood trauma, this trauma that we sustained during childhood for our parents, that we do not let it be a cycle in a generational cycle. So the child that we're raising should not have to sustain the same thing we have sustained as children. So it's very important to kind of very much stop that cycle. And if we understand how actually it can be so detrimental to children, and the same way it was detrimental to us, we're more likely to act on it and to incorporate tools that are necessary in our healing journey. The childhood environment is most likely, is in my case at least, I would say that my childhood had something to do with, at some point I did have the same issue. I was pretty controlling when it comes to how things were done in the household. Um, I was also very much I would say high achiever. Everything I do, it has to be perfect. It has to be good. It has to be above and beyond. And then I came to realize at some point that I had to pick my battles. My energy cannot be 100% in any and everything that I do, because at the end of the day, I'll be so depleted that I will not be able to do much for all the things that I really needed. For example, my children, especially when it comes to work, when it comes to school. I realized that me putting so much energy into being perfect thing. An assignment, for example, if I had an assignment do when I was taking my classes, my college classes, if I had an assignment, I will have the tendency to do the draft, the first draft, the second draft, the 10th draft. Every time I go back and read it again, I will say, no, 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 it's not perfect enough. No, it's not perfect enough. Before you know it, it's actually time to submit it. The deadline has come and almost passed. So therefore, I have to submit it. And then I realized that instead of just doing that, I could have done two, three other assignments that are needed. So therefore, my time was very much invested into one and one thing only. So I was not able to really invest my time into other things that I really needed. So I had to learn to be mindful of that and learn to allocate time to myself. That's another thing, allocating time. I had to learn to allocate time. Okay, for this specific task, I'm going to allocate 10 minutes. I'm going to do the best of my ability. After the 10 minutes, if it's not completed, I might add a couple more minutes to it. And if that task is completed, it's decent enough, it doesn't have to be perfect because there is no such a thing as perfection. And so that's also another thing I have to realize. There is no such a thing as perfection because what might be perfect for me is not necessarily perfect for somebody else. So therefore, that's something that we always chase. That is not really realistic. So learning to know, okay, I'm going to do it the best of my ability. I'm going to put all I can to make this happen. But at the end of the day, I cannot keep going back and forth to make it perfect because there is no such a thing. The perfect is the perfection that I'm going to reach is actually completing it. The completion of that task is the perfection. Complete it the best of your ability, and that's literally the perfection. So that's how I kind of learned to get come out of that sense of controlling how perfect things can be or should be before actually I submit it. That's just one example when it comes to school. Another thing was also like household chores. I would say that I could not go to sleep, so I was borderline OCD at some point. I could not go to sleep without making sure that everything is clean. I could not go to sleep. I have to clean the house, even if I have to stay up until midnight to clean it up, to wipe everything, the counters, making sure that the dishes are clean, making sure that everything is done. I have to make sure that everything is done again. And sometimes I will clean the house three, 4 times per day. And then I realized I'm putting so much time into doing this specific thing, and I'm not having again enough time for other things. So again, time management, that's another thing. If you have so much, if a person who has so many tendencies for perfectionism and controlling situations, having excessive control, the need to control things, the need for control, most likely there is a lack of time management. Time management, hesitancy can also come and sneak in there. And failure, we have that person will have also fear of failure, judgment, rejection, and all those things are feelings that we. It's a creation. It's something that we create through one thing, which is the sense to control any and everything, the sense to have everything perfect. There is no such a thing as perfectionism. Once we understand that there is no such a thing as perfectionism, because sometimes the best things are created out of imperfection. Many artists out there have their best work when it's imperfect. They actually create the art and they tell themselves, oh well, that I did this little thing that makes it look imperfect, but that's what actually make it original. That's what specific, that imperfection makes it original. So if we understand that for someone who will buy it, an art enthusiast, somebody who really likes to collect, an art collector, will find that imperfection actually to be very perfect. So in that sense, we have to be mindful of understanding that there is no such a thing as a perfection, because perfection is the same way we say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Perfection is in the eye of the beholder. So there is no such a thing as perfection. Once I think we ingrain that in our mind, that will help us work through the that will help us heal not only the sense, the need to want everything to be perfect, but also the fear of failure. Because if you understand that, well, there's no such a thing as perfection, everything I do, I will do it the best of my ability, and the best of my ability is the perfection. Because again, what I do, the best of my ability, might not be perfect for somebody else. So once we understand that concept, the fear of failure, the fear of how other people will see it and judge it or reject it will actually disappear. Those other feelings will actually disappear at the same time as we heal the need to be so perfect. And also the need for control. Once we have to also understand the side that control, we can only control us. We can only control our actions, our reactions. We cannot control other people. We cannot control what other people do, what other people say, how other people react to things. We cannot control other people. And once we realize that also, we have to learn to pick our battles. Controlling things is not picking our battles, because controlling things is trying to have all the battles in our life, and that can be exhausting. Trying to control how somebody else talks, walks, react to things, how other people, especially if we have children, try to control those children, trying to control any and everything that they do. That takes their ability to be independent, independent in all the senses, physically independent, emotionally independent, and also creatively independent, because they would not be able to figure out solutions for problems, because they always know mom or dad or whoever the caregiver is will come and take care of it. And therefore, they would not want to really go within to think about, okay, how can I solve this problem? I have this specific problem. But instead, the thought that comes straight directly to the child is, I'm not going to, I don't need to figure it out, because mom will take care of it, or dad will take care of it, or whoever the caregiver is will take care of it. So it's kind of a deep rooted issue that is not only detrimental to us, but it's something that actually spawns to older generations, to older people, especially when we're responsible for those people, such as children. So we don't want to hold on to those specific things or specific feelings that we need to work on. Now, don't get me wrong, some people are more prone to being perfectionists, but the need to be perfectionist my mostly come from environment. At least in my case, I know, because like I said, I had times in my life where that was my life, and it took a lot, so much time and energy away from myself, from spending time with my family, from all the things that were really important. And that can also trigger anxiety. It can trigger anxiety, low self esteem, self judgment. We can judge ourselves, seeing ourselves not good enough, that any and everything we do is not enough. And we have to just keep giving and keep giving and keep giving. And also people pleasing. It can also, unfortunately, it can also be one of the reasons that we people please, because we want to control the outcome. We want to control how other people perceive us. So if we are people pleasing, we know exactly what to do to get certain reaction out of people. So that's kind of a type of control. Validation. We want people to validate us, to tell us how great we're doing, how well we have done a specific task, or how good we are or how good looking we are or whatever the validation that that specific person is looking for. They they kind of learn to know the triggers, how to actually trigger people to give them that specific validation. So that's also a type of control because you're controlling the outcome, how you're trying to control the outcome of how other people perceive you by doing certain things specifically. And most likely, um, where that can come also from, besides only, well, I would say most of the time, for sure, in my case, I can only talk about myself. How, in my case, strict parents. I understood that when I was a child. Later on, I had to learn that it spawned from my childhood as an adult. But when I was a child, I didn't actually understand what that was because I'm the youngest of four siblings. But I did learn at an early age to actually see the pattern that my siblings will get in trouble for something. And then I have learned, oh, if I do it the right way, if I do it the way it's supposed to be done, and I give it my very best, I do it perfectly, then I will not get in trouble. If I say something perfectly, the certain way, or I articulate it the way my at that point it was mostly our father really who was really strict. Everything has to be done a certain way, and everything has to go through that before it can be approved to get done in the way dad wants it to get done. So I came to realize that with my siblings, I had to learn to see the pattern. When the certain things are done a certain way, that avoids trouble, that avoids punishment, that avoids the criticism, that brings acceptance. And that's another thing. So I learned to just go with that. And then, so at early age, I learned to recognize patterns. Not only recognizing patterns, but also being observant of things. Now, I've learned that my siblings, they had it harder than me because I have learned those patterns. I have learned what worked and what didn't work. And I was applying that. But unfortunately, by doing that, it only accentuated me taking that specific, taking those, taking that perfectionism and that need to control things into my adulthood, into actually my teenagerhood, my adulthood. So then that actually did spill into my years of school when it came to like elementary, of course, middle school, elementary, high school, where I had to be everything I did, any assignment I did, high achiever. I had to be that high achiever. I had to have straight A's. And if I did not, anxiety. So it's something that I had to learn to just work through it, to understand that I was not born like that. It's something that I had to learn, unfortunately, somewhere. And once I investigated that, that investigation did help me, led me to figure out solutions to that. And I had to go through doing mostly affirmations, understanding that I do not have control over other people. I do not have control over their reaction. I do not have control over if they like me, they don't like me. So after so long, I really didn't care what people had to say. Now, it is important, of course, to not offend people, to be cordial, but people will always talk. I have to understand that over time, that of course, people will always say something no matter what you do. If you do it right, they will say something. If you don't do it right, they will just say something. So just pick your battles. So that's how I have to pick my battles. I'll be like, okay, all I have control over is do the very best I can. If somebody doesn't like it, feel free to add your feedback. Whatever feedback, however you need to modify that project or that assignment, if it's a group assignment or group project, feel free to add your input to it. But at the end of the day, I did everything I can on my end. And that's basically that. And when it comes to relationships, also the need to control and the need for perfectionism can be very detrimental again, not only platonic friendship or parenthood, romantic one especially, it can split people apart. Not it can split people apart. It can bring defensiveness. It can also bring violence. It can be something that can be abusive. It can end up being abusive. It can be all the way to domestic violence, like physical, emotional, mental. So it's very important to understand that certain things, such as control, need to control, and need to for perfectionism, is not something we're born with. It's something that we acquired in an environment that was not very conducive to being raised as children. And once we understand that, we give ourselves the compassion that's needed to find a solution to it. It's not that we're not enough. It's not that we're not understanding. It's not that we asking for too much. It's not that all those negative self-talk that we give ourselves about how we're deficient in something because not everybody's that way. We're the only one. No, that's something that we need to stop doing. We need to be able to go back and figure out, when did this start? Why did it start? How can I stop it? How can I find solutions for this? And the first place to start is definitely talking to ourselves in a positive way. Talking to ourselves in a positive way is the first thing. Once we learn that, by giving ourselves affirmations, those affirmations are very important. Those affirmations are there to subconsciously put us in a certain mindset to just not see ourselves in a negative matter all the time. And also to understand that for us subconsciously to rewire ourselves to know that certain things that happen to us in childhood have a lot to do with how we are as adults, how we behave, how we show up on a day-to-day basis. And so most of the things that um, we can actually do besides the affirmation is therapy. Therapy is another one. Therapy, very much so, especially if you are on a spectrum of OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, which is you keep repeating the same thing over and over, certain things specifically over and over and over and over until you feel like it's perfect enough. So that can lead to OCD. So that's I'm not here to diagnose no one. I'm just saying that perfectionism and need to control can actually escalate to mental disorder, not only anxiety, but also OCD. So if you feel like any of those, it's good. It's a good idea to consult a healthcare professional. Okay, and focus on self worth. That's one of the biggest things. Also, focus on self worth. You worthy of being loved. You focus on being taken care of. You focus on acceptance, self acceptance first. Accept yourself the way you are. The way you are, you just perfect the way you are. You don't need to seek validation. You don't need to do extra things. You don't need to have control, show up in a certain way. As long as you feel like the way I'm showing up, I'm accepting it the way I'm showing up. And if somebody doesn't like it, well, oh well, there's nothing you can do about what people think. There's nothing you can do about how people react to how you show up. So therefore, you only have control over how you do things yourself. You only have control over that. Managing anxiety, that's another thing. To know the triggers. What makes you anxious? What triggers your anxiety? And how? At what time? And just making sure that you are managing that anxiety. That's another thing that will help very much alleviate the need to control things, because the need to control things is a coping mechanism for anxiety. Because when we do it in a certain way, oh, we know we have control over this, we set it up the way it is, therefore mentally, our nervous system is calmer because we know that we have, if we want to change it, we will change it. If we don't want to change it, we will not change it. Therefore, the anxiety level is more likely to be lower. It's a type of coping mechanism, right? Because that's a way that we also tolerate uncertainty. When we're not certain, uncertainty that we grew up in childhood in a disorganized household is something that we grew up not knowing how to tolerate it. It shaped us in a way that is unhealthy. Okay. And then also to be able to challenge those that rigid belief that if I don't control things gonna fall apart. So recognizing that and making sure that it's not normal, because it's not the same as failing. You can do something and pick your battles. Do something that you feel like is worth your time. Certain things are not worth your time, so there's no need to control those things. They are not worth your time nor energy. So it's okay to let it go. It's okay to put your energy towards something else that's way better, that needs your energy, that will actually multiply your energy, bringing it back to you, or the outcome that you want. So therefore, there is no need. Most things in life, there is no need to control. You only have control over how you react. Any external circumstances, we don't have control over. So I hope this information helps. Okay. And until the next episode, I will see you then. I'll also put some information, I'll put some free information, just resources that you can go online. I will see if I can find some YouTube videos to also put the links, or some reading material. They should all be free. And if you want, you can just go on there and read a little bit more about it. Therapy sessions for sure is something that to add is it will help. So, all right. So until next time, take care of yourself. And I hope your healing journey is going well. Bye bye.